Hey kids, this is Christina Previtt, and you're watching Wake Up Call Live. This is my hashtag FemSquire series, and I'm here today with Ohio divorce and family law attorney Christian Family. Hi, Christian.
Hi, Christina. Thanks for having me today.
Thanks for coming on. So I have to ask you first, whenever I see your name, I think that can't be her real name. So I have to ask you, is that your real name or did you change it?
I changed it to my real name. I changed it officially in August of 2018. And it started as kind of a joke in May of that year. I was at a workshop with Arjan, right, who was recently a guest on your show. And the idea of the workshop was, how do you open a second law firm? And at the time, I was thinking of opening a title company, maybe, because I was working, trying to save my marriage at the time. And he says to me while I'm there, because I had just fired my associate and the paralegal had quit, he says, "You're not really in a place to open a second law firm because your first law firm's not working. Maybe you should burn it to the ground and start over," right? So your second law firm would be your first law firm done correctly, And at that point, he's like, "That's our job." Exactly. He's like, "What's with this Manning Law Company? Aren't you like Christian Divorce or Christian Family?" And I said, "I am Christian Family Law, but in Ohio, they don't allow trade names."
Okay.
So the only way my law firm could be Christian Family Law is if my name was Christian Family. And so it started kind of like a joke then, like, hey, I'm going to do this for marketing purposes. But the amazing part of the story is that, so I filed the application for the name change. The name change hearing, like I said, is August the 2nd, 2018. On August 3rd, 4th, and 5th, I was signed up to be in this emotional intelligence leadership training, mostly because I couldn't figure out why my business wasn't growing the way I thought it should, and what are my blind spots. So it was kind of cool to be there because I was able to wear a name tag with my new name all weekend. So I got a whole new community of people named by immersion. What I didn't know was that on August the 1st, the day before my name change hearing, I would get into the worst fight ever with my husband, and he blacked my eye. I went into the name change hearing with a black eye. I went into that training with a black eye, and the whole time there's a sign on the wall that says, "What are you pretending not to know?" I was pretending not to know that I was an abused woman in an abusive marriage, where my message is that Christian women don't have to stay in these kind of marriages. So my business wasn't being successful because I wasn't living the message. And so it's like I became a whole new person with the name change. So it's pretty awesome.
That is awesome. Good for you. Congratulations for getting out of that situation.
Thanks.
So did you go home that day and say you wanted a divorce? How did that happen?
Listen, that's a cooler story, right? That's an even cooler story. So I had realized that weekend that, hey, I'm abused and I should probably do something about this, but I didn't know what to do, right? I desperately didn't really want to be divorced again. I got 3 kids. I didn't know if I could be a single mom, but I also so it was kind of this place. So I had learned a lot of tools, right, at the training. Yeah. And so the night before, this is like August the 24th or something, the night before the second part of the training, he was starting this fight with me. It was a Wednesday. And I'm feeling all like Neo from the Matrix because I got all these new tools, you know what I mean? So he's coming at me for the fight, you know what I mean? I'm dodging it, you know what I mean? Like, I will not engage in this fight with you, you know what I mean? So like, I'm like, yeah, I got this. But he like really escalated. No, it was ugly. Like he made threats. He broke a TV. Like, it was very scary in that room that day. But even then, I wasn't really sure how to get out of it. So I go to my training Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I'm kind of ignoring him. I don't want to talk to him. Saturday morning, I say, okay, I'll talk to you. And sure enough, he's still wanting to have the same fight from Wednesday. I hadn't met him. It's like he was still in the exact same place. And finally, he says to me, "What, do you want a divorce?" And for the first time, I was honest. And I said, yes, I do want a divorce. And it's like he opened the door. And it was scary, but I ran through it. And he's been out of my house ever since.
How did he react to that when you said you wanted a divorce?
Oh, it was ugly. No, it was like, when I tell you ugly, it was ugly. Like, he threw coffee on me. Like, thank God it wasn't hot. You know what I mean? And he took my car keys and he hid them and he threw them. Like, you're not going anywhere. Like, it was the scary thing that I thought it would be, that I had been avoiding all this time.
Yeah.
But I made it, but I did it. And so I'm glad that I took the step.
Well, there's that expression, the only way out is through.
Exactly. Right?
It's interesting because when domestic violence occurs, from what I've learned about it, when the abuser feels like they're losing power and control, that's their response is to be more violent. Do you feel like that's what was happening? Because it sounds like he knew you wanted to be there.
Oh yeah, he definitely escalated. I wasn't nearly as afraid as my mom and my friends and my loved ones were, because that is the most dangerous time for a woman, is when she's getting free. That is absolutely true. And he is kind of volatile. I did end up having to get a protection order, to just stop him from randomly showing up here. So it was a scary time. It was a scary time.
And how long ago was that?
So it was August of 2018. And so he's been gone for a while now. We have been divorced almost officially a year today.
Good for you. Congratulations. That's such a good story. And I have to ask you, sometimes women find themselves in a situation that has that dynamic. Did you get any sort of counseling or anything like to address that for yourself?
This is one of the best questions ever. So do note for this that this is my second time being divorced. I'm going to do it the third time. The first divorce did send me directly into kind of therapy. Like, oh my God, how did I get here?
Yeah.
But the second one, I was involved with this new emotional intelligence community. So while I didn't go to therapy per se, I was gaining all of this personal insight, about who I am and how I got here, and learning to forgive myself through the process and to see how I got there, able to find the opportunity, because there's so much shame and guilt, especially being a professional woman, who's in this kind of relationship. I'm the primary breadwinner. I'm very smart. I'm doggone good looking, right? How did I end up in that place? There was a lot of soul searching involved, and not to say that a little therapy probably wouldn't help before I get married again.
Yeah. Well, I always tell my clients who are in a situation like that, because I don't really feel qualified to counsel them or go much further than just telling them that, if you don't address why you were in this situation, like how it happened, and I don't mean to place any blame on the person that's in the situation, but to just kind of evaluate, like, what can I do differently in the future so that I don't pick someone who is an abuser. And then I send them to therapy, because I think, someone else is far more qualified to have that discussion than me. But I'm all about women's empowerment and women standing up for themselves and going after what they want and having the life they want. And you're such a great example of that. Thank you for sharing that personal story. And so I want to talk about, you've been very open about your numerous marriages, and I wanted you to talk about that, because I do want to get to your TED Talk. You did a TED Talk and you were very open about it.
Yes.
Okay. I think we might be having another tech issue. Can you hear me okay?
Uh-oh. We were doing so good.
Can you? Well, I can see and hear you now. Let's see if maybe I can edit this. Well, did you hear what I said?
No, well, I heard you were saying something about the TED Talk, but I don't know what happened after that.
Okay, so I was just commenting that you've been totally open and honest that you've been married a few times, and those didn't work out, obviously. And you did a TED Talk on it.
Yes. Yes.
So can you
Real talk about divorce. So yeah, like I have a real live mission in life to remove the stigma from divorce, to remove the shame, the guilt, the fear that's surrounding it. It took me to be divorced twice, in addition to being a divorce lawyer, to really get there. Because the only thing that I really knew about divorce going into this is that I never wanted to do that because my parents were divorced, since I was 7 years old. And I was like, I'm not going to do it. In fact, my mom's been divorced twice, my dad 3 times. And so I was convinced that I was going to be better than they were. And even as a divorce lawyer, starting at Legal Aid with women who were victims of abuse, I was still a little judgmental in my mind that, divorce happens because you're not working hard enough. Divorce happens because you picked the wrong person. It was just kind of really judgy. And it was when my first husband said to me, hey, I don't want to be married anymore. I don't love you the way a husband should love a wife. It was when divorce happened to me, right, that all of a sudden I realized, wait a minute, you've been thinking about this all wrong. It didn't matter how much I didn't want a divorce. It didn't matter how good a wife I thought it was. None of that mattered. It takes 2 people, and divorce happened to me. And so that was like when the light bulb went off for me that, hey, there's probably a different way to handle this. And so, and going through it and then looking at my divorce stories, and like I would dare say I probably do have hundreds of divorce stories from other women, just kind of looking at the people who came out on the other end better, as opposed to the people who came out on the other end and being stuck. I found that, okay, because this is really, you see that face? Like, that's how I feel about it. So now you know, right? So the point of the TED Talk was just to help people see the opportunity that's available in a divorce. It was a way to just really show, like you said, just kind of vulnerably how I did participate in those marriages. And it's what you're saying. Like, I don't blame myself per se. I'm not ashamed or anything for getting into an abusive relationship. But at the same time, I do have to take my responsibility in it. I was in that relationship. And once I stepped into a place of ownership and responsibility, it was then that I was really able to make the journey to healing. And so I'm just hoping to inspire other women and men, I guess, and anybody who's ended a significant relationship to take responsibility, see the opportunity, and move forward whole.
That's awesome. And did you ever think about, when you were counseling your own clients, did you ever think, God, I have this client who's in an abusive relationship. I have to advise her what to do. But here I am in the same situation. What did you think about that? Did that occur to you?
It did come up sometimes, but in a lot of ways too, I still was kind of in denial about how bad my situation was. And so I would hear stuff, you know what I mean, from people. And I would say, hey, well, isn't your freedom more important? Isn't your peace of mind more important? And so the thing that happened is, by the time I got to the place where I was ready to get out, it was like I was having to listen to my own advice, the advice that I was giving all these other women about, hey, your peace of mind is what matters. Your freedom is what matters. Don't be concerned about what you don't want. Let's focus on what you do want. And then I had to take my own advice.
Did you actually think about that at the time, that, here I am telling other people to do that and I need to do it?
Mm-hmm. Not at first. Not at first.
Yeah.
But you'd be amazed the amount of women who came to me with the exact story after I did it.
Yeah.
And so I'm able to say, not do it, but I've done it. Follow me.
Yeah. Wow. So you're open with your clients about that?
Uh-oh. You broke up on me.
You're open with your clients about your personal experience? You tell them that?
I do. I found that it has generated just a lot of trust and vulnerability in the relationship. The people really feel safe saying things to me that maybe they wouldn't have felt comfortable sharing with somebody who they're not sure how they're going to take it.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting about you also is that there's sort of a stereotype of who is a victim of domestic violence, right? It can be a type A woman who is educated and has her own business and is the primary breadwinner. It can be her. Yep. It doesn't have to be someone who's poor, uneducated, doesn't work, or it's people from all walks of life. It looks like all of us. Yeah. So I really applaud you for being so open and public about what you've experienced.
Thank you. Thank you. The hope is that somebody will hear the message and go, hey, wait, that is me. And I'm going to get out of this thing.
Yeah, because, one of the reasons I love to talk to people like you on this show is because I love to share stories like this, because so many of us, we all try to put our best face forward, right? Like you scroll through Instagram and everybody's life looks perfect and everyone's beautiful and whatever, whatever attributes you want to have, you can have on Instagram. Right. But life isn't like that. People, we have problems. We have imperfections. We have things that we need to work on. We have fears and doubts. And for people to come on like you and talk about them and be honest about them, I think is really beneficial to everyone else, because someone can say, well, it's not just me. I'm not crazy. I'm not a loser. I'm not, I don't have to be embarrassed that I have this problem at home, because she's having that problem too. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So I want to hear, I am a little jealous that you did a TED Talk, because I'm fascinated by that and terrified all at the same time. How do you do that? What is the process to do a TED Talk?
So that's pretty cool. I have been threatening to do a TED Talk for 7 years. Okay, 7 years I was threatening. And so at one point I must have seen, like barely 7 years ago, that they were looking for, speakers. And so I did something. And so I've been on their mailing list, their local mailing list. And I want to say that you can go to the Big TED, which is what they call it. The TEDx is called the Big TED, like TED.com. Yeah. And there's a way to find your local TED Talks, right? So this time around, I was like, hey, I've been doing this emotional intelligence. I've been doing this leadership training. I'm mastering leadership. I've been serious about this. There is nothing standing in the way of me doing what I really want. And so doggone it, I went and I auditioned. And so it was pretty cool this time, because usually to audition for TED, people send in videos, but they were trying something new with like a, I don't know, what do you call, like a casting call, like a live, like a live call, Yeah. And like the first, 25 people there or something were going to get a chance to audition live. And so I came and I auditioned, and I remember listening to the other people and thinking, oh, that's a good story, and seeing how some people interacted, with the audience. And then I did my spiel, and just the response from the audience, I was like, oh my God, I am learning something. And in this transformation facilitation, and it was like, oh, and I knew they were going to pick me.
So you noticed a very different response when you spoke than when the other people had spoken.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Can I ask you, were there a lot of women in the audience?
There were.
Do you think that made a difference?
I wonder. I think there was, it's just the idea of divorce, and enough people don't talk about it, and it having that interesting spin on it. And then again, really my training and facilitating, so that I'm not just speaking to people. I'm really trying to get them to feel what I feel, and connect with me.
Yeah. Well, I think what was good about your TED Talk is you weren't just a divorce lawyer standing up there, showing us how smart you are and all the things you know about divorce. You were talking about your own personal experiences with divorce. So I think that made a difference, because you made yourself really vulnerable and it was very authentic. So when did you find out that they were picking you?
Oh, so let's see. I want to say the auditions were July. I found out they were picking me in August, and the talk was in November.
Were you nervous?
Oh my God, listen. So I didn't realize I was nervous until it was time for me to go on, right? So they chose me to go first, which is like really a big honor. I also had the shortest amount of time and no slides, but that's an aside. I had on this dress that had this really big bow, like Annie style, like big bow. And it wasn't until I'm about to go on and I'm trying to tie the bow and I couldn't figure out how to tie the bow. I was just like,
Oh, no.
how do you do this? Oh my God. Oh my, I must be nervous. Because like this is, I could not, like, how do you do this? Like, do you tie? Do you pull? Like, what do you?
What did you do? Was it just untied?
It was like, I finally got it to tie, but it was like, I had to really take a deep breath, you know what I mean? And center myself because it was like, wait, there's something going on with you. Because you've tied.
That's interesting, isn't it? So are you talking, that happened for the audition or for the real one?
No, for the actual talk.
Man, and how many people were in the audience?
Oh, yeah, that's a winning question. I honestly have no idea, but it's a nice size theater. There are a few hundred people at least. And I got to do the talk twice because the first time I did it in front of some high schoolers who they invite for kind of an abbreviated TED, and then the full audience in the afternoon.
Wow, that's awesome. I love that. Would you say that you've gotten phone calls for potential clients from the TED Talk?
Listen, I was kind of hoping I would.
No,
but I haven't. I did get a lot of conversation from women and even some men who have been divorced and who were stuck and who felt like the divorce is this talk really helped to kind of propel them forward, which is awesome. Good. Yeah, which is actually a good, here. So let me pivot. Let me tell you what's going on with me now. Yeah. So I'm realizing that the legal part of the divorce, like just helping the people through the legal part, is such a small part of the process.
Yes.
And my mission is really to help people come out whole. I'm really expanding kind of my offerings to move away from just the practice of law to, I hate the term divorce coaching because I just don't like the term divorce coaching, but to really help people throughout the entire process from thinking about divorce to getting the divorce to recovering afterwards, because I'm seeing that there's just so much more available for me to help people. I'm limited as a lawyer. I can only do the law part. I'm limited to Ohio. I'm limited to where I'm willing to drive, even in Ohio. And so this is more like a global platform now.
So is that up and running, or is that just in the works right now?
It is in the works right now, but I mean, like, I'm moving fast. Like, I'm closing out the client right now. I haven't opened any new ones in a couple of months. Closing them out. I'm transferring them over, and I'll start, doing kind of live webinars and selling an education soon.
So are you going to just stop practicing law? Are you going to have your law firm at all, or are you done with that?
I'm done with it right now. I am done with it.
I love you. Oh my God, I wish I could kiss you right now. I love stories like that. Because there's so many people that are practicing law, and I am or was one of those people for a long time that really was profoundly unhappy doing it. It doesn't sound like you were profoundly unhappy, but I'll let you speak for yourself. And they don't go and try to find something else, or they're afraid to make that leap to go do something else to be happy. So I really, that's awesome. That might be bigger than getting a divorce.
I think so. And I hate to say it, but what can I say? This COVID-19, it's like it happened for me. I had made the decision actually in November that I knew I wanted out of the practice of law, and that I really wanted to, at that time I was thinking, pursue a career as a speaker, but in digging deeper, it's not really the speaking, it's really the mission, around divorce. That's my passion. In November, I did this crazy clean house. I fired all my staff, right? People are like, who does that? I did it. I was like, hey, I think I'm going to shut this thing down.
I love that. That is so bold.
So I came in, I asked everybody in January, I gave up my office space. So I was moving home to a mobile office. What do you call this? You know what I mean? Like a home office, a virtual office. And all of that happened right before it was like, okay, shelter in place. And so it was like, cool. So now I'm sheltered in place. The phone's not really ringing. Courts are closed for so many weeks. Like, if I'm going to make a move, now's the time.
So do you have to change your name back?
I had thought about it. I was like, no. I'm Christian Family Forever. Like, this is my brand. Even the new husband is going to know. I'm not taking your name. I know I took those first two, but not yours. I am.
Is there a new husband, or you just mean, this someone in the future?
Someone
is there going
to like?
Oh, okay. You know who he is?
I don't even know him, but like how nobody called about, like hiring you to be a lawyer. I was really secretly hoping that some man was going to see the talk and call me. Like,
they might be afraid. You need a strong man. A strong man. I have to ask you, this is so like random. Are you an Aries?
No, I'm a Leo.
Oh, you're a fire sign. That explains a lot. Madonna is a Leo. So you could be the Madonna of divorce coaching.
I like it.
So did you come up with a name for the divorce coaching business? And I think we can do better than divorce coach. I agree with you. I don't love that expression because it's like,
yeah, what is that? Exactly. I keep saying that. What is that? And the people who are saying they're divorce coaches, all like their experiences, they've been divorced. Really?
Yes. Just because you have done it doesn't make you qualified to coach other people. And yeah, I came across some lady.
So I've been working on a couple of things. But
yeah, go ahead.
Who'd you come across?
There was a lady
that
was online who was touting herself as a divorce coach because she had been divorced. But what was disturbing about it is she was saying that she could teach you how to handle your divorce yourself. And it really, to me, was irresponsible because now these people are going to be going to her instead of a lawyer and probably be getting terrible deals and terrible advice. But that was a little different situation.
Is right.
So what have you done to get this other business off the ground?
So besides the fact that I've been like on this crazy webinar binge, I got to stop.
Oh, that's good.
All right, I've been on this crazy webinar binge. I'm toying with titles like 90-Day Divorce, which, because I think that's funny, like 90-Day Fiance, but I don't know if it really speaks to my target audience.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like moving from fear to faith. You know what I mean? Like, instead of being stuck in fear, let's move by faith, like something to that effect, how to go from thinking about divorce to, being divorced out, so I'm working on that, but it's going to have to happen soon because in my mind, I'm going to have the webinar on April the 27th. And so by April the 23rd, I need to be inviting people to it. And so it's going to need a name. So that's where we are.
That's good. Sometimes I have to psych myself out and so that I don't procrastinate and do things like that. Like put something on the calendar that
I think we're back.
That I have to commit to. So I'm like, oh shit, I better figure this out because it's on April 27th. Did you do that on purpose?
Right. Yes.
Yes. I have to say though that I'm still reeling because you just were like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore, and you just closed it down. Mm-hmm. And I have to ask you, like, personal. You could tell me it's none of my damn business, but what about money? Like,
oh no. What about money as a legitimate concern? So, no, that's a legitimate concern. I was because I don't have any savings. Like, that's real life personal there. But I'm kind of living off of the trust money, and that's also why I know I gotta have this workshop on the 27th.
Okay. Like, better make
right. I gotta engage people enough to want to get involved in my beta program of the training, but I think it's gonna be pretty awesome. And yeah, no, the money is a legitimate concern. My father is freaking panicked.
Yeah.
He's like, well, what about, our standard of living? Like, are we getting It'll be okay.
Well,
Dad.
you know what? You and I were talking about what your home situation is, and I was like, really? Wow. So can you tell our viewers about what your situation is at home? Because I thought it was really interesting.
But it's kind of cool. Both of my parents live with me, my mom and my dad. And what's interesting is that they've been divorced since I was 7 years old. So it's like 36 years they've been divorced. And now they both live here. It is a very fun dynamic. It's a very fun dynamic.
And do they get along good?
They do, actually. They both get a little fussy. What happens is, can I say a cuss word? They both think the other one's kind of an asshole. And as I've been living with both of them, I'm like, you know what? No, you really are both assholes. Like, this is an actual fact. And they were the impetus for me starting my podcast, right? Asshole Parents. And like,
is that a real thing? And you have a podcast?
Asshole Parents. Check it out. So far, there's only 4 episodes. It's me introducing it, me interviewing my mom, me interviewing my dad, and one interview with both of them together, which was really kind of raw.
Wow. Oh, I got to check that out. I mean, you might be onto something. Maybe you should have a reality show.
I've been trying to talk him into it, but my mother won't go for it. She was like, I'll record this podcast, but that's kind of it. You're not gonna.
Really? Oh man, you could just, you know what? If a camera crew just shows up one day, what are they gonna do?
Right, that's what I'm saying. You guys just got to live the life. You got to live the life here.
Just tell them you're recording memories. Wow. So, and how long have they been in the house there with you?
Oh, so my mom's been here officially since November, but for a whole year leading up to that, because there's always something. You'll recall the story about the name change in May, where I lost the associate, I lost the paralegal, right? That was 2018 May. Then in May of 2019, apparently that's not my month, I lost my staff again. So I went down. I didn't fire them that time though. They left me and started their own firm. Cool. And so my mother started coming down every weekend to kind of help me at that point, because I was either working on the weekends or she was working in the office. And so that's when it started to seem like, okay, well, they can, regularly be in the same space. That was the beginning of that. And so, yeah, it's really cute actually, because my dad, when he comes home from dialysis, my mom kind of always makes sure there's going to be some food there for him, because she knows he's going to when he comes in. Like, it's really cute. My dad says, your mom really is a nice person. She just doesn't want people to think that about her.
So your dad was there first?
Yes, he's been with me since 2014, like when I had the second baby. I've got 3 babies now.
So then when your mom wanted to move in, was she sort of like, I don't know if I can live with your dad?
Right. No, her thing is she wasn't going to let him being here stop her from doing what she wanted to do. Even though I'd already given him her room, which she's been annoyed about that for several years. Listen, he got a room, like it was like,
that is
here all the time. You know what I mean? He gets that room.
Well, I think it actually says a lot about them that, they whatever grudges they may have had, they're gone.
It's true. Their message has always been to me, which is part of why I used to teach a course too called Co-Parenting Tools to Make It Work. Here's another class where I'm telling people how to co-parent while divorced or from somebody they haven't been married to. And the only kind of point of view I had was as being a child, right, of divorce, and how well I felt like my parents handled it. And so that was always my point of view. And now I'm actually living it again and having to take my own advice. But the point of this was, my mother always says there's absolutely no animosity with my father because he was a good father. There was never a time where I needed something and he didn't come through. There was never a time when he was supposed to come get me and I was waiting and he didn't come, and so there's no reason, she always says, for her to be angry with him. And he says similarly, like, your mom did a good job raising you. I was never concerned about what was happening with child support money. She never tried to keep me from you. There's no reason for there to be any animosity. Like, they were great parents. And so that mutual respect they have for each other, I think, is really the foundation that makes this relationship work.
Well, that is the very best situation to be in. That really is an example of how to do it.
And how. So
I want to back up a little bit. I usually start out with, your resume and college and all that. But what made you want to start your own law firm? Because that's a big leap to go from working for someone else to, and I'm assuming that's what you did, and then starting your own firm.
Well, kind of. So what happens is my in law school. So this, so you can get my kind of history. In law school, I was working at Legal Aid, helping victims of abuse, right, get divorces and protection orders. And that's when I kind of realized I had found my place, in the world. Like, oh, here's where social work and law meet, so this is my spot. Then I did AmeriCorps, actually fresh after law school. It's called Equal Justice Works now, but I was in Appalachia, which is also a fun story. There's not a lot of Black people in Appalachia, nonetheless. Helping also victims of abuse get divorces and protection orders. After that was over, I prosecuted for 2 years in a very rural county in Ohio. And after I was done prosecuting, I honestly didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to get a job. And so I opened my own law firm. And I've had my own firm since 2005.
That is so funny. I have never heard that. Well, I didn't know how to get a job, so I just decided to start my own business.
Yeah.
Wow. And did you have fear? It doesn't seem like you have any fear about anything.
Part of it is fearless and part of it might be crazy. Who knows? You know what I mean? But
maybe.
At the time of the first one, I did have a husband. And so, there was some help there. It's like, oh, he's an engineer. He had some income. What was scary was when he left me. And the only way I had to support myself was with this law firm. But I made it.
Yeah, you sure did. So how many years did you have the law firm?
Right. From 2005 to 2020. So 15 years. There was a small break. So I ran for judge in 2010 for a domestic and juvenile judge. And at that time, I was super excited about this is what I want to do. And so in my mind, I was low-key shutting down the law firm then because I was going to be a judge, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't exactly win that election. So I was like, crap, what am I going to do? I don't know how to get a job, right? So I'm back in that place. So I'm practicing law. I had got passionate, though, about becoming a foster parent while I was on the campaign trail because I had spent a lot of time talking to fosters and I didn't have any kids at that time. I was 34, 35. I'd been divorced. I was pretty confident I wasn't going to have any babies. And so I became a foster parent. And it was right when I got the foster kids. And that's part of the TED Talk story that I met the guy who ended up being my second husband. Moved really fast. I got pregnant and I decided to be a stay-at-home mom. So in 2012, I actually shut down for 2 years. And it was when I got pregnant with the second baby, I was like, yeah, so it's probably easier to run a law firm than be a stay-at-home mom with 2 kids. So I went back to work. And then it was 2000. So I was 14. I came back in 15. I joined How to Manage. And the rest is history.
Yeah. How has your experience been there? Did you experience a lot of growth?
Oh, my God. Listen, the financial growth, yes, even though not as much as I wanted to be, still like pretty amazing. It's the mindset growth.
Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine being someone who generated $1 million. Like I
didn't, you could. Yeah.
As something I could do. And now like, it's very clear, like, oh yeah, totally not, I mean, it takes work, you know what I mean? But it's a place that my mind is like, I went from somebody who was happy to make $3,000 a month, to thinking, geez, if I don't make $30,000 this month, how am I going to make it? Like,
yeah, it's amazing how your perspective changes.
Mm-hmm.
And Arjun does talk about that in the interview that I did with him yesterday.
Cool.
But he always has this saying that personal development precedes professional development. He says it all the time. I'm sure you've heard that. And it sounds like you definitely agree with that.
Yes. I agree with it 100%. And those are the things, right? Like, how come my business wasn't growing? Like, why wasn't it growing? And it was because personally, right, I was stunted, in that marriage. And then there's just a lot of baggage. Apparently I'm overcoming, like generations of, financial thoughts and how people think. And being here with my parents and just seeing how they think about money and how they operate with money, it's very clear that, man, I got some hurdles to
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Everybody's got a money story.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to think about what my money story was. I mean, I remember being a kid and, feeling guilty if I spent any money because, and I don't remember exactly what was said that made me feel that way, but something must have been said. And things really do follow you through your life.
Mm-hmm.
But I must have gotten over it because I'm a major spendthrift now, and now I got to pull it back. But what? Maybe I was rebelling in my own head. But what's your thing? Like, what do you feel like is your money story?
Oh, the money story here is just enough. Enough. That's all.
You don't need more.
Is enough. You don't need more than that. So there's no abundance. It's always enough. That's all you need. You don't need any more than that. That's just enough. That's just enough.
What do you think that's about, though? Is it because there's a judgment about people that have things in excess?
I think so. My mother, honestly, and God, bless her. I love her. But when I was a young woman, and not even a young woman, a child, let's take it back. I knew that I wanted to be on television and that I needed to have staff. I've always known I was going to need staff, somebody to cook for me, somebody to drive for me, somebody to clean my house. You know what I mean? Like, these were things I knew. And my mother always made me feel ashamed about wanting those things. Like, you don't need that stuff. That's just, you know what I mean? Like, why would you even want that? Like only a bad person, you know what I mean, would want these nice things. And so the other cool thing about How to Manage is that in addition to my mind, it's helped to change my mother's mind about things. Like, her mind is open to, you know what, you do need a housekeeper, and we probably should get somebody here to do these things. And so,
it's not cool. Wow, that's great. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So do you need How to Manage anymore now that you don't have your law firm? What are you doing about that?
I am. I let the contract expire, right? Because I've been with them for 5 years. It'll be 5 years in May. So I finally let the contract expire. But absolutely everything that I've learned about myself and how to run a business is all transferable. And so that's cool.
Yes. Yeah. I really love the mindset component of How to Manage. I can do mindset all day. I mean, so many interviews I've done are focused on mindset. I really can't get enough of it. So what are you going to do to fill that piece moving forward? A coach or?
I know. I don't know. I'm going to miss my community because I love them. The bubble. So I'm going to miss the bubble. But I do have my next level community here, which is my emotional intelligence leadership group here. And so they kind of help keep my mind in the right place and making daily declarations and, dream, declare, deliver. Let's, stay on this. And so I've got some people that are on me here, which is pretty cool. So it helps, because you got to have community. I think if you're not surrounded by people who are also on the same wavelength and vibrating on the same level, like, how can you succeed?
It's so important to surround yourself with people that are positive and encouraging. Because I don't know about you, but there's some groups I'll get on, and because everybody's doing these Zoom calls, right? Like these to try to stay social during COVID. And, some of the groups, it just becomes a bitch fest.
Right. You're like, I don't want to do that.
But everything, like, I'm really being more mindful in 2020 about who am I around? Are they positive and upbeat, and do they have a good mindset, or are they just complaining all the time? Because it does rub off on you.
Doesn't it? Ooh.
Does. And you struck me when we first started and we hadn't started recording yet. I asked you, how were things? And you said, like, great, so much gratitude. I can't tell you that's not the most common response that I get,
I imagine, but let me tell you, like, the gratitude has been building like all the time, like every day. So the first part is, I told you the setup. I was set up and prepared to be a virtual office before it hit. So that was one thing.
Yeah.
And oh my God, thank God my mother is here to help with this whole homeschooling, because my kids are little, 7, 5, 2. Right. So I've got a second grader, a preschooler. He's not even kindergarten yet. And then the 2-year-old. And if she was to homeschool, for sure, me and the kids would be in pajamas all day watching TV. You know what I mean? At the end of a couple months, there would be no money. You know what I mean? We'd be homeless. The whole thing could be bad. right? But she's here, you know what I mean? Keeping that going. So I'm so grateful for that. And then I was talking to people who there's just 2 of them there. And I was like, oh my God, so you're just looking at each other all day? But here, right, it's me, 2 parents, 3 kids, there's 6 of us. You know, so I'm grateful for that. You know, I mean, there's enough people to, you know, interact with, you know, so like, yay. And then even the house is, right, we got a whole like thing going, right? And then being in Ohio, because I was talking to a lady in New York, you know, New York space is a premium. So she's got her husband, her mother-in-law, 2 kids and a babysitter. So still 6 people, but they're in a 2-bedroom apartment. I'm in a 25 square foot house. You know, everybody's got their own wing, you know, so you can go someplace and be and be separate. And so like I'm grateful for that, you know, and slowing down and just yeah, it's probably the best thing to happen to me. It's hard on the kids though.
It's hard they do need their routine. Well, the grown-ups too. I mean,
right.
I think that's been a challenge too. So I have to ask you, I like to ask everyone that I interview these series of questions. What do you feel like is the best business advice you ever got? Maybe something that you learned from How to Manage?
Yeah, the best business advice I got was, who do you want to help and what do you want to help them do? Who do you want to help and what do you want to help them do? And that's how I found Christian Divorce, because what I want to do is help.
We have a visitor.
It's like a joke. Do you see this here? Like, yeah, get out of here, children. So like, who do you want to help? What do you want to help them do? That's how I found Christian Divorce. Guys, this is a live recording.
It reminds me of that guy on CNN whose kids barged, I don't know, they barged in when he was live.
So this is my life, right? But get out of here. So what I found is that I have a message, right? Which is to remove the stigma from divorce, to really let, especially Christians, know that divorce is forgivable. And that's how I found my niche. And so that to me was the best business advice ever.
Yeah. That is so huge. I'm so tired of this attitude that divorce is a failure, that it's something terrible that has happened. You know, the only thing terrible about it is the way that people treat each other when they're in a divorce. And I feel like a lot of that is fueled by the stigma. And I wish we could get rid of the stigma that's associated with it. I'm not sure how to do that. If you come up with any great ideas, let me know.
Because that is my mission, right? That's my mission. That's my mission in the world. And so, like you said, I could be the Madonna of divorce.
Yeah.
Saying like how Susie Orman is to finance. You know, I'd be a Christian family. But recently somebody said, Dr. Ruth, like everybody know like Dr. Ruth is to sex. And I was like, dude, everybody knows Dr. Ruth. I would be right, the Christian family of divorce.
Well, I don't think Dr. Phil is a real doctor. I don't.
No, Dr. Ruth. You remember Ruth?
Oh yes, I remember her. She's a doctor, but you're not a doctor, but I think you still sort of use that as like a stage name.
Oh, I see what you're saying. The divorce doctor.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. I think you might be onto something there. Divorce doctor. Yeah, you better hurry up and register that when we're done here.
I know, right? Somebody runs and tries to get it.
Yeah. So what is the best personal and life advice that you think you've got?
The best personal life advice I've ever gotten is take it easy on yourself. Give yourself some grace. There are things that I beat myself up about that I would never beat anybody else up about. I would never talk bad to my friends the way that I talk to myself. Do you know what I mean? And just to treat myself like I would treat a friend.
Yeah. You know, I have a goddaughter. She's 6. She's almost 7. And sometimes when I hear myself saying things to myself that are just not very kind, I always, you know, sometimes I'll catch myself and say, you know, would I ever say that to Sydney?
Exactly.
I ever say that to her? And then it's not okay to say it to her. Then why is it okay to say it to myself?
Exactly.
I'm just looking through my list of questions here, so I don't want to miss any.
Yeah.
So if you won, this might be moot based upon our conversation, but if you won $100 million,
Ooh.
money was just no concern,
Yeah.
what would you be doing? Like, what would your work be?
Gotcha. I would be traveling around the world and talking to audiences about divorce, to really just to help remove that stigma, to help people see that there's an opportunity there, that they aren't failures, In fact, I mean, if you were in a marriage that lasted 10 years, isn't that really a success on some level? Like, some people can only date for 3 or 4 months. Like, you made it 10 years. I see the success in that. And let's appreciate it for what it is.
I do too. I don't see that as a failure. In fact, you know what? I see it as a failure if you're miserable and you stay.
Amen.
That is a failure.
Because that's not being honest, right?
Yeah.
And that's what causes the failure, is not being honest.
I don't think that we were put on the earth to be miserable. So, to stay miserable in a marriage, I don't know. I don't think that makes you a hero.
No, it doesn't. And it doesn't make you a good Christian, because that's the message that's being passed around out there, that, you're a good Christian woman. So you're just going to take it, whatever he does to you, you're just going to stay in this marriage, because it's like putting the concept of marriage above everything else, above being happy, above having a relationship with God. Even the thing is to stay married. And that's not right.
Yeah. I was going to ask you that, how do you reconcile with people who are very religious that idea that we're not supposed to get divorced? It's wrong. It's against a Christian faith. Is that what you tell people, what you just said?
Oh, absolutely. I explained to them that divorce is forgivable. There's kids in here again. That divorce is forgivable, because the reality is this: there is no sin, in the Christian faith that Jesus didn't die to pay the penalty for, and that includes divorce. So if you're getting divorced for the right or wrong reasons, it does not disqualify you from a quality life in the future. It doesn't disqualify you from being able to do ministry or have a good relationship, and so just to let the women know that, like, this is a conversation that you get to have one-on-one with God, because I know for a fact that God released me from the bondage of that bad marriage, and I trust that he will do the same for other women too, who are just open to the idea that maybe what they have taught is wrong, what they've been taught is wrong.
Yeah, I really love that message. It sounds like it got quiet all of a sudden. Did somebody herd them out of the room?
Listen, listen, if you saw what the frick they were doing here right now.
I want to see it. I want to see.
Oh my God, it is so crazy. So my in what you would call an add-on, it's like an add-on porch. They are literally crawling through a window right now.
All right. Are they going to be okay, or can we finish a few questions?
I think we can finish. Would you people please go away?
I have to get that, and keep falling down.
No, you have to go.
Thank you. My mother's trying to get them now.
Right now, come this way.
Do you hear this?
Really? Someone else's kids.
We'll try. Listen, I am really recording. This is so embarrassing.
Don't worry about it. It's great.
Getting a whooping. As soon as I get off of Junior's car.
Listen,
This is all right here.
only a few more questions. They opened it. Right. So, so embarrassing.
That's okay.
I'm back.
It's really so funny. It's great. No, but I don't know if you heard me, but like it's awesome to watch and so adorable. But I get to, when I hit end, like it's quiet here.
Yeah, no, not here. There's not a dull moment, and and I appreciate it for what it is.
It's fun. You're blessed. You have kids.
Yeah.
So if you were writing life's instruction manual, what would be like at least one rule that you would have in it?
Ooh, life's instruction manual.
Like what's something everybody needs to know?
Everybody needs to know. Ooh, look, this is juicy. Okay, let's say there really is no such thing as failure. The only way to fail is to not try. Either it turned out the way you wanted it to, or you learn something, but there is no failure.
Yeah,
Always try and learn.
that's a good one to know very young.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm trying to teach the kids.
some of these seem a little repetitive, but maybe I have to revise my list. What would you tell your 20-year-old self?
Ooh. Oh, what I would tell my 20-year-old self is that the key to successful relationships is to be honest. Honest. And the way that I ended up in that first marriage is I wasn't honest with things that I wanted and things that he was doing that weren't really meeting my needs. I was too busy trying to keep up this facade of, I'm going to be happily married and like just trying to live according to the story that I built, as opposed to being honest. The key is to be honest. If I was honest with him and honest with myself early in that, hey, these are the things I need in a relationship that you're not giving me, we could possibly still be friends now. Because I do miss his friendship even after all these years.
Yeah. Yeah, good to know. But like you said, there's no failure. It's a lesson, right? So you know that now. Oh, great story. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to spend with me and share a lot of this stuff. It's very personal.
Thanks for having me. Like, this has been very cleansing.
Yeah, good. Excellent. Maybe I should be Dr. Christina.
Right.
About that. And, send me the information for the webinar and when you get yourself going with your coaching business, because I would love to help you promote that.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Well, enjoy your family there and have a great day.
Hey, thanks. You too.
Bye.
Bye.